Welcome in, everybody. It's another weekend of European soccer going down this weekend, and this is quickly becoming one of my favorite shows to do every week here on this channel, as we just have so many games to choose from across the top European leagues every weekend, and so far, so good with our European soccer picks. Last week in the parlays, we went 4-0, bringing the season record to 21-8. Now these certainly, if you're following along, you'll know these don't pay off huge in these parlays. We're keeping them close to even money or a little bit less, but if we just keep chipping away at this rate all season long, it should add up quite nicely in the end of the season. Now this week is a big week. I've created 5 different parlays, so let's not waste any more time here. If you're watching, listening to these videos, please help and grow the channel by subscribing, sharing, liking, or dropping your favorite picks in and thoughts into the comments below. All of it helps out in spreading the word about the channel. So let's go and get into it. And we're starting in the Bundesliga, one of the best leagues to bet if you like betting goals. There are tons of goals in this league. And many weeks, if you wanted to, you probably could just go over 1.5 goals in almost every game. I don't want to do quite that, but I will certainly pick several games to include in these parlays. Let's start this parlay. It's Saturday. It's in the Bundesliga. I've got 3 games. Let's start it off with Bayern Munich. We can keep this quick. Bayern, they're second in the table at 10-2-0. They're playing Union Berlin. They're 17th at 2-1-9. Bayern have outscored opponents this season 43-9. Union Berlin have been outscored 27-12. If you look at the home road splits of these teams, Bayern have outscored opponents at home 27-5, while Union Berlin have been outscored 14-7 on the road. Union Berlin, they just played Braga in the Champions League on Wednesday, and they drew 1-1. They're now 0-3-13 in all competitions this season. In the Bundesliga, on the road, they've allowed 4, 2, and 4 goals in their past 3 road games. You could probably bet Bayern to win by 2 or 3 in this game alone if you wanted a single bet, or Bayern in a parlay to win. I got a little bit better odds by just going Bayern to score over 1.5 to kick off this parlay. Next, I'm going to pair it with both teams to score in Borussia Monchengladbach and Hoffenheim. Gladbach have scored 25 goals. They've allowed 27. Their games average the highest goals per match this season at 4.3. That's tied alongside Bayern Munich. They're 11-1 to over 2.5 total, so that's 3 or more goals, and over 1.5, and both teams to score has happened in 9 of 12 games for them. Their recent scores have been 4-2, 4-0, 3-3, 2-1, 3-1, 2-2, and 3-1. So tons of goals coming from both ends in Gladbach games. For Hoffenheim, their games averaged 3.8 goals per match. That's the 5th highest in the league. They've scored 24. They've allowed 21. They're 9-3 to over 2.5 totals this season. They're 12-0 to over 1.5, so every game has seen at least 2. Both teams to score has hit in 11 of 12 of their games, and also in each of the past 7 games. Both teams scored over 2.5 is 9-3 on the year. Hoffenheim, they're also much better when they're playing away from home, which is where they'll be here. They're tied with Bayern and Leverkusen for the best home records at 5-1-0, and they've scored 15 of their 24 goals on their travels. They're, like I said, much better team on the road. They're actually one of the worst home teams. Last year, Gladbach won 3-1 at home and 4-1 away. Both teams to score is now 7-0 in the last 7 between these teams. Both teams to score over 2.5 is 6-1. Both teams to score is 18-2 in the past 20, and there's been at least 2 or more goals in each of those past 20 meetings. This could be a both teams to score over 2.5. If you want a single bet in this parlay, I'll just ask for 1 goal from both sides and go both teams to score. And the final leg will come with Stuttgart and Werder Bremen. We're 12 rounds in, and Stuttgart are still 3rd in the Bundesliga, an unlikely spot for them to be. They're 9-0-3, and their league's 3rd highest scores with 31 goals. 10 out of 13 Stuttgart games have seen 3 or more goals. All 12 have seen 2 or more. 9 of 12 have seen 3 or more for Werder Bremen, and 10 of 12 have seen 2 or more. Bremen, they've won 2-0 at this venue last year. They also drew 2-2 when they were playing at home. Only 2 times in the past 28 all-time meetings between these teams, obviously going far, far back. There have been fewer than 2 goals scored when they meet up, but there is obviously still that history of goals in these teams. Stuttgart have scored in all but 1 game this season, and they have scored multiple goals in 10 of 12. Stuttgart could very easily win this game. They could probably hit at least 2 goals all by themselves, but all I'm going to ask for is at least 2 goals combined between the 2 teams, one way or another. Bremen, too, have scored 2 goals in 3 of 4 and also in 8 of 10, so you could also probably go both teams to score in this game. Both teams' scores hit in each of the past 4 Stuttgart home games, but I'll go over 1.5. So it's Bayern to score 2, Gladbach and Hoffenheim both teams to score, and Stuttgart and Bremen over 1.5. I got that at minus 114 odds. The second parlay is going to be split across La Liga and EPL. Starting in La Liga, and it's Girona and Valencia. Simple enough, Girona are still La Liga's top scorers with 32 goals in 14 games. Outside of one loss to Real Madrid, Girona have scored in every other game in all competitions this season, that being in 14 of 15 games. Valencia is their opponent this week. They conceded in 9 of 14 in La Liga and in all 7 road games. If you go back to last season on the road, Valencia has conceded in 26 of 27 road La Liga games. We'll go Girona to score. Next, it's Real Madrid and Granada. Here's another one that doesn't require much breakdown here. You could just simply look at the table and see Madrid are first, 36 points. They have 31 goals, 9 allowed. Granada, 19th, 7 points, outscored 33-19. On the road, Granada are 0-1-6. They've been outscored 18-8. Overall, Granada allow multiple goals in 10 of 14 in La Liga so far. Real Madrid have scored multiple goals in 14 of 19 games this season across all competitions. That's including the Champions League. Madrid won 1-0 and 4-1 last year when these teams met. They've also won the last 14 versus Granada and have scored multiple goals in 8 of those 9 games with them. Let's go Real Madrid over 1.5 at home to Granada. And next, it will be Newcastle and Manchester United to round out this parlay. Man U are actually ahead of Newcastle right now in the table. They're 6th with 24 points. Newcastle is 7th with 23 points. But at home, Newcastle is 6-1, and they've outscored their opponents 18-4. In all competitions at home, Newcastle have scored in 9 of 10 games this season. They've only failed to score at home once in the Champions League, and that was against Dortmund. Newcastle won the last 2 meetings between these teams, 3-0 and 2-0, and 2-0 at home versus Man U. Man U, they have some recent clean sheets against teams like Everton, Luton, and Fulham. Those teams are not very good. They also allowed, though, 3 goals in Turkey to Galatasaray this week and 4 in Denmark to Copenhagen in recent games. I think Newcastle at home should be able to at least get 1 goal here. So that's Newcastle to score around at the parlay. Newcastle to score, Madrid over 1.5, Girona to score. That's minus 141 odds. Now let's move into Sunday. This will be an all EPL parlay, and it's starting off with Liverpool and Fulham. Liverpool have not had it all their way when these teams meet up in recent years. They won 1-0 at home last year, and they drew 2-2 at Fulham. In the season prior, the teams drew 1-1 at Fulham, and Fulham won 1-0 in Anfield. But since that home defeat to Fulham back on March 7th, 2021, Liverpool have just 1 single home defeat in the EPL over their past 48 games. None this season, and none in their past 18 at home, where they are 15-3-0, and they've outscored opponents 45-12, keeping clean sheets in 3 straight, and in 10 of those 18. Liverpool played in the Europa League on Thursday. They won 4-0 again at home over Lask Linz. Fulham are 14th in the EPL, 4-3-6. They've been outscored 22-13. They're 1-3-3 on the road, and they've been outscored 13-6. Meanwhile, Liverpool are 3rd in the EPL right now. They're 1st in XG, while Fulham are giving up the 5th highest XGA and the 5th most shots on target this season. That's not good news against a team like Liverpool. At home, Liverpool have scored multiple goals in all 10 games this season in all competitions, which is what I will ask them to do here. Liverpool over 1.5 goals to kick off this parlay. Next, there's 2 games that I do think could be both teams to score easily or more, but let's get into them and see how we bet them here. It's going to be Chelsea and Brighton. Chelsea were struggling for goals to start off this campaign, but they've scored 17 goals now in their past 7 EPL games. They've scored 4 goals 3 times in that stretch as well. 2 of those have come in their past 3 games, where they lost 4-1 to Newcastle, drew at home 4-4 with City, and won 4-1 at Tottenham. Chelsea now actually own the 3rd best XGA in the league at 25.8, only behind Liverpool and Man City. Brighton comes in 8th in that category at 22.3. They also have the 3rd most shots on target so far. Chelsea's last 7 games have all seen 2 or more goals. 5 of those 7 games have seen 4 or more goals. Both teams to score is 5-2. Both teams to score in over 2.5 is also 5-2. Chelsea, they'll be the fresher team, having been off all week, while Brighton played in the Europa League on Thursday, and they won in Greece 1-0 at Athens. But that could mean that they are a little tired, and they'll already be missing center back Dunk after last week's red card. Brighton, so far though, has been managing the extra games playing in Europe this season pretty well. They're still 8th in the EPL at 6-4-3. They've scored 28. They've allowed 23. But that has seen their goals be averaging the highest goals per match this season at 3.9. They are 10-3 to over 2.5. That's the most, along with Villa, West Ham, and Sheffield United. That's being the most games to go over 2.5. And all 13 of their games so far have seen 2 or more goals at 13-0. They are the only team that have every game go over 1.5 this season. But here's a really crazier stat, and it's the both teams to score stat that just keeps on delivering for Brighton games. It's a perfect 13-0 in every Brighton game this season. Brighton, both teams scored over 2.5, is also 10-3. But 3 of their past 4 games have also ended just 1-1. If you go back into last season, to go a little bit further here, you can see that 17 straight Brighton EPL games have now hit the both teams to score market. And we could see more of the same here, and until a streak ends, it's usually a good idea to keep betting on it. Chelsea have just 3 clean sheets this season, and those came versus Bournemouth, Luton, and Fulham. Those are not great teams. Those are their only 3 clean sheets in the EPL in their last 22 league games. Like I said, this doesn't look like a both teams to score, or both teams to score over 2.5. My only concern here is that Brighton could be a little bit tired after just playing on Thursday and playing in Greece. And this will be the first time after playing in the Europa League this year that Brighton will then be playing their next EPL game a few days later on the road. It's kind of a double road trend that I see here as they just played in Greece and now in Chelsea. Their other games in the Europa League, they were playing at home in the Europa League and then home in the Premier League. They were away and then they were back home in the Premier League. They were home and home. They were away and home. All of those times, they were always coming back home, so at least they had the comforts of home and maybe a little bit less travel. This time, it's a short turnaround, and both games are on the road. So because of that, I'm just going to go to over 1.5 just in case Chelsea does end that both teams to score streak with Brighton. Finally, it'll be Man City and Tottenham, one of the top games to watch this weekend. It's been a good season so far for both teams. City are second with 29 points. They're coming off back-to-back draws. 1-1 with Liverpool and 4-4 with Chelsea. Tottenham are 5th with 26 points, but they've dropped 3 games straight now, 2-1 to Villa, 2-1 to Wolves, and 4-1 to Chelsea. These teams have put the most, Man City being the first, and second most Tottenham, shots on target this season with 86 and 76 respectively. Man City games average the 5th most goals per match at 3.5. Tottenham average the 7th most at 3.2. Both are 9-4 to over 2.5 totals this season, while 11 of 13 City games have seen 2 or more, and 12 of 13 Tottenham games have seen 2 or more. Now, not only does City lead the EPL with 33 goals, but when you include all of their competitions this season, they've scored in 18 of 20, only failing to do so away to Newcastle and Arsenal in the EPL. City was in action in the Champions League on Tuesday, and they won 3-2 to Leipzig after being down 2-0. Tottenham should be the fresher team, having been off since Sunday. Now, Tottenham is 7th in scoring, 25 goals. They have scored in every single game this season in the EPL, plus 1 cup game. Last year, Tottenham won 1-0 at home and lost 4-2 away. But it's Tottenham who've won 3 of 4 recent games when these teams meet up, winning 3-2 away and 1-0 at home the season prior. There's only been 3 clean sheets in the last 17 games for Man City in all competitions, though. So between Tottenham scoring a lot, Man City's not necessarily keeping clean sheets. It certainly could be a both teams to score. City at home is always a good bet. So this could be a City win, both teams to score, City win. Could be a City clean sheet, both teams to score over 2.5. Because this is how we do these parlays. I can't decide if Tottenham gets on the board or not after seeing them lose 3 games in a row. I'm just going to go over 1.5, and that brings in this parlay to minus 148. Man City, Tottenham over 1.5. Chelsea, Brighton over 1.5. Liverpool to score 2. I do think there's a good chance one or both of those Chelsea, Brighton, or City, Tottenham games could see both teams to score, though, if you wanted to be a little riskier and bump that up. Let's go into parlay number 4. Let's keep rolling along here. It's La Liga, Serie A, and Ligue 1 all on Sunday in one 3-game parlay where I'm just going over 1.5 in all 3 of these games. Sassuolo and Roma in Italy. Sassuolo games see the highest average goals per match at 3.4. Closely followed by Roma at 3.1, tied for the second highest with Napoli and Frosinone. The over-under stats for over 2.5 don't look like anything too special here. Roma's 8-5 to the over, Sassuolo is 7-6. But for just 1+ over 1.5, Sassuolo is 12-1, and Roma is 10-3. At home, Sassuolo is 6-1 to over 1.5, scoring 10 and allowing 11. These teams usually play entertaining affairs, with the last 5 games between them being 4-3 Sassuolo, 1-1, 2-2, 2-1, and 2-2. 2-1 Roma and 2-2. So lots of goals coming from both teams in their recent matchups. Sassuolo won 4-3 in Empoli last game, but that was their first win in 6 games, so they've not been a reliable team when it comes to winning games. Roma drew 0-0 with Lazio last week, and they were in Switzerland Thursday for the Europa League, where they drew 1-1. No matter the competition, Roma does seem to struggle away from home, dating well back into last season, so they too have been unreliable, at least on the road for wins. In any competition, they are just 3, 8, and 12 on the road of late. Let's go over 1.5 to kick off this parlay, and we'll do the same thing as we move into Spain and go to Sevilla and Villarreal. Neither of these teams have been winning much in La Liga this season, and Villarreal are 12th at 4-3-7 with 15 points. Sevilla are 15th at 2-6-5 with 12 points. But both are scoring their share of goals this season. Villarreal's 21 are 7th. Sevilla's 19 are 8th. But Villarreal giving up the third most goals this season so far at 25. That's only better than Granada and Almeria. Sevilla is only a little bit better, giving up the 8th most at 19. At 3.3 goals per match, Villarreal games have the 4th highest number of goals, and Sevilla's 2.9 is the 8th highest average goals per match in a game. Now, all I'm asking for here is over 1.5 goals, something that is 12-2 for Villarreal, 10-3 for Sevilla as well. There's been at least 2 or more goals in 8 of 9 of the last meetings between these teams when they meet up. The last 3 scorelines have been 2-1 Sevilla, 1-1, and 1-1. Now, while Sevilla will be coming off of quite the disappointment in the Champions League as they coughed up a 2-0 lead at home, losing 3-2 to PSV earlier this week. They have still scored in every home game in all competition this season, but both teams to score is also 9-1 in those home games, so you can see this trend. This could be another game that actually could probably hit both teams to score, but we'll just go over 1.5 for the second leg. And the third leg, we'll go into France, Monaco and Montpellier. Let's make a quick stop in France to bet on this game here. Monaco fits our profile of teams we like to bet on perfectly. Their games average the highest goals per match in Ligue 1 at 3.5. They've scored 27, and they've allowed 19 in just 13 games so far. Montpellier's games average 2.7 goals per match. They've scored 17, they've allowed 18. Monaco are 9-4 to over 2.5. Montpellier is 8-5. Monaco are 11-2 to over 1.5, and Montpellier is 10-3. Last year, Monaco won 2-0 away, and Montpellier also won on the road 4-0. Head-to-head, when they meet up, there's been 2 or more goals in 6 straight, and also in 10 of 11. Now, these teams are both near the top of the XG and the shots stats this season as well. Montpellier are actually second in XG. That's not what you would expect from a team like them. Monaco are 5th. Monaco are also tied with PSG for the most shots on target, 81, while Montpellier are 6th in that category. This as well could possibly be a both teams to score game. It should be an over 1.5 game. So Sassuolo and Roma, Sevilla, Villarreal, and Monaco and Montpellier all over 1.5 to come in at minus 125. Now we are almost done as we try to blow through all these leagues here. Parlay number 5, it's again on Sunday, and we're going back to the Bundesliga, one of the top leagues I like to bet on, and it's one of the top games probably this weekend. It's Bayern Leverkusen and Borussia Dortmund. This is, like I said, should be one of the top games. It's first hosting 4th. Leverkusen have still not lost, being 11-1-0 in the league. They've allowed the second fewest goals, 10 to Bayern's 9. Leverkusen have 2 of the league's top 9 scorers, in Victor Boniface and Alex Grimaldo, each with 7 goals. Dortmund won in the Champions League Tuesday, 3-1 away in Italy to Milan. Meanwhile, Leverkusen were in action in the Europa League Thursday to Hacken, and they also won 2-0. Now, Dortmund, they won both games last season when these teams met up, 1-0 and 2-0. Prior to that, if you've been betting both teams to score over 2.5, you would have been 5-0 or 7-1 in those recent games. Now, after Bayern, Gladbach, and Darmstadt games, Leverkusen games are the 4th highest scoring games this season in the Bundesliga at 3.9. All 12 of their games have gone over 2.5. For Dortmund, those numbers are much lower at 8-4 to 2.5 going over, and they actually have seen the fewest games even going over 1.5. But even saying that, even at that, they are 9-3 still to games seeing at least 2 or more goals. Such is the case in the Bundesliga, where the average goals in matches are 3.51 so far. Outside of one 4-0 loss to Bayern this season, Dortmund have scored in every other Bundesliga game dating back to November 8th, 2022. That's a run of 31 games. But you just can't bet against Leverkusen right now. They may be the best team in Europe, being 18-1-0 in all competitions this season. Amazingly, they've also scored 2 or more goals in all but one of those games. This could be both teams to score. It could be both teams to score in over 2.5. Could be a Leverkusen win. I would love to bet both teams to score in this game. I also seen Leverkusen keep 4 straight clean sheets. So we will just go over 1.5. That won't get you much, But we can get close to even money by going both teams to score in this other Bundesliga game on Sunday, and it's Augsburg and Frankfurt. Frankfurt have been the better team most of the season. They're 7th with 18 points, but Augsburg are heating up, and they are now 10th with 14 points. Now, Frankfurt, they had just one loss in the season prior to last week when they lost 2-1 at home to Stuttgart. They've scored in 10 of 12, but they've only scored more than one goal 5 times this season, so they're a good bet to score, but maybe not score tons of goals. Both teams to score is just 7-5 for Frankfurt games. But now let's look at the Augsburg side. Augsburg drew 1-1 at Union Berlin last week, and they're now undefeated in 5 games, so they're starting to heat up. They've scored 11 goals in those 3 games, but their last 3 games have all been 1-1 draws. So they're scoring as well, but not tons of scoring. They're certainly conceding as well. Both teams to score is on a 6-0 run in Augsburg games right now. Now, after Hoffenheim, Augsburg actually has the next highest percentage rate of their games seeing both teams to score, as 10 of their 12 games this season have seen goals coming from both teams. If you go back into last season, Augsburg have scored in 14 of their past 15 on their home pitch at WWK Arena. This could be another 1-1 game. That would hit both teams to score, which is what we'll do. So, Augsburg and Frankfurt, both teams to score. Dortmund and Leverkusen over 1.5. I got that down to -121 odds. Okay, that wraps up a wild 5 parlays this weekend in Europe involving 14 different games across the 5 biggest leagues, the EPL, La Liga, Bundesliga, Serie A, and Ligue 1. What did I miss? Are there any games that I didn't bet on that you have good picks on? Drop them in the comments. Leave a like if you enjoyed these stats and picks, and good luck with all of your soccer bets this weekend.